Hello and welcome to the AT Center at TCNJ. This webinar series is facilitated by Kate Flaxman. Kate is an Augmentative Communication Specialist with Advancing Opportunities. She has been practicing as a speech language pathologist for over 17 years. She has had a diversified experience working with individuals with complex communication needs who benefit from AAC in early intervention, schools, adult placement settings, and employment. She strives to promote communication for the purpose of improving lives through interactions with parents, peers, caregivers, school personnel, and community members. This is part 2. These webinars are made possible through our partnership with the New Jersey Department of Education, Office of Special Education. The statements issued by guest presenters do not reflect the stance of the NJDOE OSE. Please use your professional judgment when implementing strategies and resources within your practice. Let's listen to Kate.
Hello, my name is Kate Flaxman, and this is part 2 on literacy instruction for students with significant disabilities. My background is that I am a speech language pathologist who's been working in the field of augmentative and alternative communication for over 16 years. In part 1 of the webinar series, we talked about literacy instruction, and we established that our mindset really needs to change regarding who we should teach to read and write. And in this section, we're going to talk about strategies for daily instruction. So, first of all, we're going to talk about the actual activities, and then we're going to talk about alternative pencils. So we're going to go over 5 instructional strategies today. We're going to go over predictable chart writing, which is a shared writing routine, shared reading, phonics and alphabet instruction, independent writing, and self-selected or self-directed reading. So, predictable chart writing supports all students to be successful within the writing process. It should be fun and easy for everyone. It's a shared group writing activity, which provides structure so that students are able to generate their own ideas. And it is recommended to be done over the course of a week so that it's predictable for all students. I've actually had success recommending families engage in predictable chart writing at home when their children were not getting writing instruction at school, and doing it as a family activity at the dinner table every evening. So it doesn't just have to be within a classroom setting. Predictable chart writing helps with translating thoughts to paper. It provides instruction about concepts regarding print and word identification, spelling and grammar skills, communication and interaction skills. It's a back and forth. It helps with writing skills and increases self-confidence and viewing in themselves as writers. So we're building print concepts and things like that. Literacy for All Instruction.ca is a website that has a lot more instruction on predictable chart writing. I'm going to give you links throughout that will better be able to support you doing these things, whether it's at home or in the classroom. So the steps of predictable chart writing. So it has very specific steps, and then you work on each step, one step every day. So the first step is to write the chart. The second step is to reread and work with the chart. The third step is to work with cut up sentence strips. Fourth is be the sentence, and fifth is make a book. So that the book, so that at the end of the week, the students have a finished product. So a little bit of the how. The students can use robust AAC. You can use the child's name and match with their choice given pictures. So if you have some picture options of ways that they can fill in the blanks, they can take their name and match it to the picture that they want to select. You can use alternative pencils. The goal is to turn it into a written product. So predictable chart writing are really sentence frames. So things like in the winter I see, or I like blank, where the topic is something specific. My favorite blank is blank. So you might write my favorite color is, and then they fill it in. This picture would show what it looks like. You are providing examples for them. So you'll title it, that one's titled favorite snacks, and you'll write, I like to eat, and you show them how you're writing each individual word with spaces in between, with capital letters at the beginning and punctuation at the end, putting their name next to it, so that they can watch you write, and that they can participate in actual filling in the blank, and then put their name next to it so that they can see what they've said. So there is a fantastic resource. It's that Weebly link that has lots of different sentence starters for predictable chart writing. Some of them give ideas of books that will go with the sentence starters, so you can do thematic units. And then you're going to read everybody's sentences out loud. Day 2 is you're going to reread and work with the chart. So you want to provide a good model. You're going to read it as a group. They can take turns participating by pointing to the words so that they point to each word, giving them some print recognition, and things like that. Day 3 is working with sentence strips. So at this point, you are going to write each word on a separate piece of paper, and then you can break them down, whether it's if you need to make them nice and big, you can put them on one sheet of paper, like one sheet each word, or you can cut them up. And then you want to have the students put the words into order to recreate their sentence in the correct order and read it out loud. The 4th day is called Be the Sentence. So the same way, you're going to take those little pieces of paper that have the individual words. So maybe one word says one paper says I, and then the next one says see, and then person has the word the, and the last person has what they filled in. Let's say it's tree. I see the tree. And you hand each piece of paper to a student, and then we can put them in order so that they work together to put each sentence in order. And you can use single message devices if you want, like a Big Mac, for example, or any recordable single message, so that they can actually hear the words that they are out loud. They can use robust AAC to recreate their sentences so that they're putting the sentences together. The goal is to get them actively participating in figuring out how words go in order, seeing the words in print, and working together with them. And then the last day is make a book. So use those cut words that you have and that they're now glued into a sentence, and add a picture. Have the students participate, selecting pictures. They can work on computer skills. You can give them choices of 2 or 3 pictures to add, and then glue it in underneath the sentence that they made, so that they see themselves as authors, and that now you have another book for your classroom library also, where they can engage with it during independent reading time, where they can share it with other people who visit the classroom, or their families, things like that, so that they see themselves as writers and that they can participate in the process. ComprehensiveLiteracy.com has a fantastic overview that another elementary school put together on predictable chart writing. It gives step-by-step instructions with pictures, where you can see exactly how another school has implemented this. You can see they implemented it back in 2019. This is not a new process. There's lots of resources available if you're interested in seeing how it works for a wide variety of students in an actual school setting. The next activity that we're going to be talking about is shared reading. This allows students to experience books that are beyond their independence level. Positive attention can be drawn to print concepts. Repetition with variety, again, going back to we want to read the same books every day for a week and provide different activities during the book so that students are drawn to different skills. For example, you can do sight words, comprehension strategies, letter-sound relationships, things like that. And that repetition builds familiarity and confidence. You can use large format texts if you have access to them, but you don't have to. The reader is modeling fluent reading with expression. They can provide support for understanding the text. This should be done for about 20 to 30 minutes daily. And we want to maximize participation and really encourage that love of reading. We can discuss the story, we can discuss characters, the goal is to really deepen understanding and engage. So we can do shared reading with students who are interested in books but not reading independently. Students who are not yet interested in reading at all. We can provide them with activities to participate in while we're reading. We can simplify books if we need to. For students who have not yet developed intentional or symbolic communication, they can engage with books also. For students who can read but require support for comprehension, this is great because we can provide some of that comprehension support while we're doing shared reading. It's great for emergent readers and early conventional readers. Shared reading should be focusing on the interaction and making meaning. It is reading with students, not just to the students. And it's doing it very intentionally where the person doing the reading guides the student. They encourage in that engagement and interaction. They support communication throughout the story. It's not just, I'm going to sit here and read a story, but we are going to look at the pictures. It's going to be a joint activity. So because it's a joint activity, the adult is going to take some responsibility for that. They're going to encourage all communication, whether it's verbal or nonverbal communication, whether it's behavior or any pointing to things like that. And we want to respond to all forms of communication while we're reading and attribute meaning. If the student gets up and walks away, behavior is communication also, and we can attribute meaning to that and use verbal referencing. Hey, you walked away. I guess maybe we should put the book down and you're not interested, or maybe maybe you need a snack. Let's eat a snack while we finish reading. You can redirect attention back to make it a positive experience. We want to connect the content of the book to personal knowledge and experience of the student. Keep in mind, as with all students with significant disabilities may have different or experiences or lack experiences due to their physical needs. So keep that in mind. Like, we want to tie things to personal knowledge and experience, but they might not have had the experiences. We want to model communication on their AAC systems while we're reading. That's a great time to model vocabulary, especially frequently used vocabulary, asking them to help you turn the page, things like that. Select books carefully. You can select them based on age or topic experiences. We want to be age respectful. We want to pick things that they're interested in, but we also want to give them opportunities to engage in books that are potentially simplify on topics that are more age appropriate. However, they're simplified. You can find those on what used to be Tar Heel Reader, Building Wings, things like that. There are plenty of accessible materials out there. The next one is phonics and alphabet instruction. So students need explicit instruction. We need to use words to teach letters and sounds to integrate those skills. We want to teach application of information from the beginning. Remember in my first webinar, I talked about the why. This is not about teaching them all the letters of the alphabet in isolation and then them having to learn that letters make up their name and letters make words. And it's not about sight word recognition where we're just teaching them the sight words and we're not teaching them the actual individual components of words. This goes back to the science of reading and how they, we all need phonics instruction to learn. So we can do that through fun things like rhyming and rhythm, repetition, alliteration, and predictability. There is on the Literacy for All instruction.ca website, there were plenty of ideas for how, such as reading alphabet books, pointing out letters in print in the environment, talking about letters and their sounds when encountering them, having opportunities to play with letter shapes and sounds, such as and using some of the ideas I have that I'll give you for alternative keyboards. You can explicitly reference letter names and sounds in shared reading and writing, such as can you find the T or this is a T, using mnemonics and actions. I know that there are phonics programs that use actions paired with the letter sounds, using students' names for alphabet instruction. This needs to be meaningful to the student, and often I've found my experiences is that it's done with drill, but it doesn't have to be done with drill. That Dropbox link will link to Carolyn Musselwhite's aecgirls.blogspot.com. One of the PowerPoints she put together was on incorporating rhythm and rhyme and things like that and songs into literacy instruction. Make it fun, make it meaningful, and it will be much easier for your students to learn. The next one is independent writing, and writing doesn't just mean by hand. So at this point, I would argue that we handwrite minimally, all of us, and that's okay, but we all need to be able to write, so in some way or form. So we can use an alternative pencil. I typically recommend using a QWERTY keyboard layout versus an ABCD layout because the majority of keyboard layouts that a student will encounter in their lives are QWERTY keyboards or QWERTY layouts. So starting with that from the beginning, they only need to learn where the letters are once. That's the next step. Students need opportunities to write about things that matter to them. They need more opportunities than those in typically developing classrooms, and using photos or pictures that are meaningful as prompts can create a context for that. So, for example, we can provide a picture of the student doing something, or a picture. It doesn't have to be a real picture. We just want a picture from a book. We just need to create a context and essentially a writing prompt where it can then be open-ended, but they're going to write about something in the picture. And then the goal is to attribute meaning to their writing. We do that naturally for students as they're learning to write by hand. So first, a young child will scribble something. And this is like the evolution of handwriting. So a child scribbles something and they say, "Look, Mommy, I wrote Mommy." And it's just a bunch of scribbles. And you're like, "Oh, cool. You wrote Mommy. That's amazing." And over time, those scribbles take more and more shape as they learn to write the letters. So what the research has found is that they'll like scribble blanks and then put spaces where they're like scribbling and then they'll have a space where a break in the word is, and then they'll scribble more to create another word. And what happens is that the communication partner, the adult in the interaction, starts to attribute meaning to the writing if the child doesn't already do that. So in some cases, I have a young daughter at home, and she'll write something, and she'll scribble something, and she'll say, "Look, Mommy, I wrote, I love you." And it's just, I have to take her at her word that it says, "I love you." And sometimes as she's gotten a little older, I can say, "Hey, I see the letter K because your name starts with K. Maybe you meant to write kite or kitten," and I can start attributing meaning to what she writes. It's the same, it works the same for students who are using alternative pencils. We can attribute meaning to their writing so that they learn that what they're writing has meaning. So during independent writing time, we do not cue. The student makes the marks or the letters that they want, whether it's handwriting or using an alternative pencil of some sort. And then the teacher provides feedback. And that feedback loop helps create the meaning with the picture as the guide. So having the picture as like the context, and then the teacher can provide, or the adult can provide some feedback as to what they think or what they see that the student potentially wrote. So it can be, "Oh, I see you wrote a lot of O's. Maybe you wanted to write open," and providing that feedback as the student starts to write. And you'll see an evolution in that writing as they start to spell, start to increase their alphabet knowledge and their phonemic knowledge. The last instructional strategy that we're going to talk about today is self-selected or self-directed reading. This is critical for all students. The goal should be about 15 minutes of students looking at, reading, or engaging with books by themselves. I would argue that 15 minutes does not have to happen all at once. If a student can only manage it in short amounts of time, 3 to 5 minutes, perfect. Set aside 3 to 5 minutes. The books are chosen by the student. Digital books and magazines count. You can do audio books. Make sure that you also have access to the physical book if they're listening to an audio book. They should be accessible, so the students should be able to turn the pages themselves at their own pace, look at what they want to look at. They should be able to access the books, whether it's via switch access and things like that. Again, providing age-respectful materials. For emergent readers, they can read books with an adult for pleasure. Part of the goal is to develop a leisure time activity where they're doing it, where they're self-selecting and then having something that they can do as an independent activity. We're going to switch gears a little bit. We're going to talk about alternative pencils. Alternative pencils provide access to the full alphabet. We want to pick something that is easy for the student to use. There is that website, med.unc.edu. There is a whole website about alternative pencils with links to alternative pencils. Alternative pencils can be accessed in a variety of ways. They can be accessed via partner-assisted scanning. They can be accessed using eye gaze. They can be accessed using direct selection. We can represent only a limited number of letters at a time, like do like A, B, C, D, and then flip the page to provide access to additional letters. It doesn't have to be all on one page. You can use stampers, like letter stampers. You can use magnetic letters. Whatever is going to give access to the full alphabet. The goal with alternative pencils is to self-produce a writing product, and the meaning is attached to the choices to increase the engagement. So this is a way for all students, whether it's via a physical keyboard, a robust AAC system, or some sort of other way that they have access to the full alphabet, that they can start to make their own words. Alternativepencils.weebly.com. You can see tons of videos of students using different alternative pencils. It's a great It's a great website with lots of examples of alternative pencils in action. So a little bit of wrap up. We want to devote time to instructional strategies every day through repetition. Predictable chart writing, a great time for predictable chart writing would be during morning meeting, for example, where it becomes part of the daily routine. Shared reading, that should take approximately 20 to 30 minutes. Phonics and alphabet instruction incorporated throughout the day. Independent writing and self-selected or self-directed reading, that's about 15 minutes a day. Incorporating all of these activities within a classroom for emergent and early conventional literacy instruction, all learners will benefit. And please celebrate successes no matter how small, your own successes as well as your students' success. This is my contact information. Please reach out if you have any questions or need additional resources. I'm always happy to talk about the subject. I hope you have a great day.
Thank you for joining us. Are you a New Jersey educator looking for support or professional development tailored to your district's AT needs? We offer free, customized training and coaching for NJ teachers, paraprofessionals, and families. From hands-on workshops to individual classroom support and small group facilitation, we're here to help. Visit us at atcenter.tcnj.edu to learn more. Have a question? Contact us at atcenter@tcnj.edu. Please like this video, leave a comment, and subscribe for more content on all things assistive technology.